this mini lesson is going to be based on the theory of evolution by natural selection. Let's get right into it. Shouldn't take us very long to go through it. So just pay attention, and then at the end there'll be a brief summary that you need to do for your assignment. So who came up with the theory of evolution by natural selection? That's Charles Darwin. That's this weird-looking guy over here. He's the one who proposed this theory. And what is natural selection? Natural selection is also known as survival of the fittest. You probably heard about this already. When we talk about fittest, we're not talking about being fit at the gym, but we're talking about being better able to survive in your environment. So survival of the fittest, that only the strong survive. But when we say strong, we mean the best, because as you'll see, different types of adaptations don't mean that you have to be necessarily strong, but you can be the slowest, the fastest, the one that camouflages, or in plants, just having spikes makes you better at surviving because the other animals are not going to eat your fruits. So the 5 main components of this theory of evolution are overproduction, variation, competition, selection, and adaptation. We're going to go through each one one by one, and we're going to look at it in the context of the movie Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo is a great movie. You guys should watch it during quarantine to help you remember these points. But let's go through the first one: overproduction. Organisms always overproduce their offspring. What does that mean? That means that more babies are always made in animals that can successfully survive their environment. So, for example, if you notice the clownfish, Nemo's parents, they made hundreds of babies in their nest, but only one survived. And nature knows this, that because of predators, because of other situation, not all the children will survive. So nature takes care of that and overproduces, and there will always be more babies that will actually survive to the next generation. Variation. Within a family or within a population, there will always be variation. What does that mean? That means that your traits are different. Just like if you have brothers or sisters, you don't look exactly like them. You'll have small differences. Same thing with animals. All the offspring will have small differences in them. Think of this picture right here. The turtles' kids. These are the turtles' kids, Crush. All their kids have differences in their color, in their size, in their personality. You can see that they're all related, but there's small differences among them. Number 3, competition. All organisms compete for food. A great example is the seagulls in Finding Nemo. They try to reach for the food. They think that each piece of food is theirs, and they say, mine, 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 mine. And they compete with one another to get that food, to get that space. Animals tend to be very greedy. Organisms tend to be very greedy when they're competing for resources like food and space. The next one is selection. The environment is not a living thing, doesn't have a conscience, but the environment does select which traits survive and which animals reproduce. In this case, with Finding Nemo, the barracuda is part of the environment, and he's hungry. So he goes and he finds something to eat. And what does he eat? He eats Nemo's entire family and his mother. The barracuda kills the mother and all the kids except Nemo. So the only person left and surviving is Nemo and his dad. So they're the ones who survive and will be able to reproduce in the future. So the environment, other animals, other predators, they do the selection. That's why it's called natural selection. The environment decides who will survive and who will reproduce. But organisms have an advantage, and that advantage is called adaptations. These traits, adaptations are traits that help you improve your chance of survival. So if you see the anglerfish here, this is an actual fish that lives in deep, deep waters, and it has a little light on a fishing pole in front of its head, and it uses that fishing pole light to attract fish. And the fish are attracted to that little light, and it gets him really close to his face, and then the anglerfish quickly chomps down on it and eats the fish. So that fishing pole is considered an adaptation that the anglerfish has. It helps him survive. It helps him get food. Just like the animals in Finding Nemo, real animals like the bear and the turtle each have an adaptation. What adaptation do these animals have to help them survive? The bear has, of course, his claws, his fur, but he also hibernates. Every winter, the bears go into this sleep-like state where they don't eat a lot and they conserve energies and they're able to survive the winter. While the turtle, he has a hard shell. He's not fast, he's not tough, he's not strong, but he has a strong shell that can help him survive attack from other animals. So for this assignment as the exit ticket, write down in the Google Doc the example of each part of natural selection. So what was the example of overproduction? What was the example of variation? What was the example of competition? What was the example of selection? What was the example of adaptation in Finding Nemo? And that's it for your assignment today. Just complete the Google Doc. And then we'll be watching videos the rest of the week about adaptations, and then you could see some planet Earth examples of that. Hope you have a good day. If you have any questions, reach out to me on Google Classroom.